Candidate in Ecuador's upcoming presidential election has been assassinated. Fernando Villavicencio was attacked after a campaign event in the capital, Quito. Mr. Villavicencio was a member of the country's National Assembly, as well as a notable anti-corruption candidate. A member of his campaign team told local media he was about to get into a car when a man stepped forward and shot him in the head. His death was confirmed on social media by current President Guillermo Lasso. Mr. Lasso vowed that this crime will not go unpunished, and he called for an urgent meeting of his top officials to address the killing. The country's Attorney General's office said on social media that the suspect in the attack had died from injuries sustained in a shootout with police. Ecuador's election is scheduled to take place on the 20th of August. And we can go live now to Samantha Schmidt, Washington Post, Bogota Bureau Chief. Great to have you with us, Samantha. What is the latest that you're learning about this attack?
Yes, this is a really a brazen assassination that is stunning Ecuador, and it's really unprecedented in this country, which is a historically peaceful country that has recently been consumed by drug trafficking violence. And in the aftermath of this attack, two other presidential candidates have said that they are actually suspending their campaigns in response to this, to the security threats, but also to respect this event. And the president is meeting with all of his security cabinet right now and trying to decide what comes next, whether he will, call some sort of a nationwide, state of exception. It is still unclear, but we are seeing reports from Villavicencio's campaign that the campaign offices in Quito are also under attack by armed men. So clearly, this is still an ongoing and developing incident that is shaking this country.
And a brazen attack, as you just mentioned there, Samantha. Do we know any more about the suspect?
We don't have much information about the suspect. We just know that at least one of the suspected gunmen was shot and detained by authorities at the scene and died while in police custody. What we do know is that Villavicencio had received threats as recently as earlier this month, and some of those threats came from one of the most powerful drug trafficking groups in Ecuador. It is still unclear whether that had anything to do with this killing, but he had been very vocal about these death threats against him and had said that he was not afraid to confront these groups and vowed to combat drug trafficking if elected president.
Well, on that point, if we take a look at the president's Twitter, he has said on Twitter that organised crime has gone too far, but the full weight of the law will be applied to them. How much of an issue is organised crime in Ecuador?
This really is the issue in Ecuador right now. And this country was relatively peaceful up until a few years ago, but being located between the two biggest cocaine-producing nations in the world, Colombia and Peru, Ecuador has really become a crucial transit point for cocaine heading both to the United States and to Europe. And an influx of Mexican cartels, as well as Albanian mafias working with local gangs, has sent drug trafficking and violence spiraling out of control. We've seen record homicides, record drug trafficking, terrible levels of terror in cities that previously had never seen this kind of violence. And just weeks ago, the mayor of a city of Manta, a port city, was assassinated as well. And so we're seeing many of these threats being targeted to politicians in particular.
Right. I mean, I know it's difficult to assess right now as the country is just reeling from what has happened, but are there any indications about what this might mean for the upcoming presidential election? It is just a matter of weeks away.
Right. We already have at least two presidential candidates who've said that they are suspending their campaigns. And so it's unclear whether, others will as well. We know that the Electoral Council is meeting in this security meeting with the president tonight. So we will see what they decide. It's possible that this will become a very militarized election with, security forces trying to take control of the country. But that is all still to be determined. And what we do know is that it will be a very tense and probably unprecedented election in Ecuador's recent history.
Undoubtedly, it will. And we also know that 7 of the 8 presidential candidates, including Mr. Villavicencio, were under police protection? Essentially, could we see a situation where there could potentially be risks to other candidates?
Definitely. We see that, as you mentioned, they were all under intense security precautions. And one of the things that, the two candidates who have said that they are suspending their campaigns have said that there needs to be a sort of national discussion about what this means and what comes next, to make sure to protect political candidates. So this really is a huge threat to democracy if it's having a chilling effect to the remaining candidates.